Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy at Passionate World Talk Radio. Jeanne White is the producer, writes the blog. Thank Jeanne so much, and Lillian Caldwell for this radio station. Get your paper and pens ready, folks, because guess who is on Chatting with Betsy? Our number one resource person, Sue Fernandez, is going to talk about counseling and resources for caregivers and an update on visitation for nursing homes. So grab your paper, grab your pen, get a beverage, and sit down and take a listen. If you forget to hear the show or if you miss anything, you can hear the replay on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple, and Google, and many other podcasting avenues. Welcome, Sue. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. I appreciate that great intro. I'm going to take you wherever I go from now on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your resources, Sue, because as you and I know, it's so important, and
right.
I can't stress it enough.
Right. Like you said, education is the key, Betsy. Thank you again for this podcast. And what came to my mind the other day was I attended a webinar. It was provided by our local Elder Abuse Prevention Roundtable. The presentation offered a nonprofit called Resources for Independence Central Valley. They provided many resources available through their company. In addition, several local organizations expressed their concern for isolated seniors and their loved ones. And that gave me the idea that I wanted to share and do some research for resources for counseling. This organization, and again, this is the local name, Resources for Independence Central Valley. They also have a national, it's national, and their National Council on Independent Living is in Washington, D.C. So their website for the National Council on Independent Living is www.ncil.org. Their phone number is 844-778-7961. At this particular meeting, Betsy, they expanded on a lot of their services that they have for the disabled. And it could be anybody, meaning whether they're disabled with an illness of cancer, they're disabled, or even some dementias. Not that much, but I just thought it was great for these free money they were offering and grants for disabled individuals. Like I said, whether you have cancer or you are, let's say, well, let me give you an example, and I thought of this just yesterday, Betsy. Your son has some challenges, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking, why can't he take advantage of this organization? There's one, not in your town, Iceland, if that's how you pronounce it, but they offer grants for computers. They'll go in and teach you how to use it. I mean, they offer all kinds of things for free. And I mentioned about a means test, and he said that they're not too strict, that they have money available to help disabled. Now, your son may not be as disabled as you think he is, but he may qualify for a computer and for them to come out and teach him on the computer, Betsy.
I checked into something like that, Sue, a few years ago, because somebody at work who also has a child with special needs told me about that, but Josh didn't qualify.
Oh, he didn't? Okay. Well, you may want to try it. Things change on a yearly basis,
right.
So you may want to try them. That's one of my resources. Another one I wanted to mention was if the caregivers are still working, their employee assistance program offers free counseling. Contact your local area agency on aging. Their website is eldercare.acl.gov. You can go to their website, which I did yesterday, and once you go onto the website, all you have to do is type in your area code, and boom, they'll give you the name and address of your local area and agency. Their number is 1-800-677-1116. Here in California, they have a friendship line, and it supports lonely and isolated residents. Their number is 888-670-1630. Also, AARP has a line, and their website is www.arp.org. Their phone number is 888-687-2277. The other resource I have, Betsy, is called NAMI. I'm sure you've heard of them, National Alliance on Mental Illness. They offer free counseling also. Their website is www.nami.org. Their 800 number is 950-6264. And then lastly, the Alzheimer's Association. Their website is www.alz.org. Their 800 number is 1-800-272-3900. The Alzheimer's Association also has support groups. They have a hotline that can help you, and they also have medical professionals available. At this particular meeting, Betsy, and it refers to our elderly and residents, they had expressed that here in California, they had over 1,400 ombudsmen. Now, because of the pandemic, they are only at 600. So that should give our listeners an insight when they're filing a complaint, and if they're not, calls aren't being returned. Again, this was in California, but I'm sure the same goes for other states. I also wanted, and I've given it out before, but the following resources are related to anyone having issues with their loved ones in a facility. If you recall, there's no one going out to the facilities, neither an ombudsman or state regulators. Again, the first one I have is CANHR, C-A-N-H-R, California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform. Their website is www.canhr.org. Their 800 number is 800-474-1116. In addition, there is another organization called the National Consumer Voice for Quality Long-Term Care, and they're located in Washington, D.C. Their number is 202-332-2275. In addition, their website is www.theconsumervoice.org. Let me back up a second, Betsy. The resources that I gave you, some may charge a fee, some may not. I believe most of them are free. But in case they do, one thing I suggest is that the family member asks them if they offer a low cost or a sliding fee. What that sliding fee is, basically they'll charge you basically what your income is. So, for example, let's say my yearly income is $35,000. They may charge me, $50, whereas your income may be $20,000, and they may charge you $25. So that's a good question to keep in mind. Again, ask for a low-cost or sliding scale fee. We have some CANHR news, and this is for California only. And this isn't good news, I hate to say. It is if you're not in California. The LA Times newspaper reported that they interviewed 8 registered nurses, inspectors for the health department, of which they described their fears because they are not being tested for having proper PPE gear. Only after July 24th that it was exposed, Governor Newsom announced that they would establish a program for inspectors. That's not good, Betsy. That's sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
Yeah, yesterday I also attended a town hall webinar by CANHR, and it was titled Getting Good Long-Term Care in a Pandemic. and I just want to briefly go over talking points of the discussion. They first talked about visitation. The attorney, Mr. Chicatel, noted that more nursing homes have been opening up for visitation, but there are mandatory conditions. One in particular is that the facility must have outdoor space available. Another subject that was discussed was resident outings and activities. He noted that they were still problematic. Activities in the facilities have been lacking and residents are bored. Number 3, exiting and entering. He noted that there have been admission problems and refusals from hospitals. He suggested having the caregivers get the refusal in writing for future use. He also reminded the attendees at the webinar that there is still a statewide eviction moratorium. Residents and facilities are considered their homes, and they are included in this moratorium. Again, they cannot be removed from the facility that they're in because of this moratorium. Number 4, COVID-19 in facilities. Residents with COVID-19 has been difficult to place, and hospitals have been dumping residents. He stated, should a family member experience this, contact the mayor's office, your local television stations, newspapers, and any other media to bring attention to the problem. He recommended that you write down your frustrations. If the facility has a family council, reach out to others in the council and or join it. He also suggested filing a complaint in writing. Do not, and I repeat, do not call in your complaint. This helps documenting your frustration. He mentioned 2 websites to file a complaint with. One of them is called calhealthfind.org, calhealthfind.org, and the other one is called Let Us Know, letusno.dss.ca.gov. He also mentioned if you haven't received a response in 2 days, keep on calling. They also discussed if your loved one is in a continuing care community facility, they do not, and I repeat, do not abide by the other restrictions, and they have to allow their visitations. They questioned California immunity. If you recall, Betsy, our governor did not sign the legislation that they were going to allow immunity. So that has been, he did not, mandate it, so everything's a go-ahead here in California. Now, for other states, the governors did sign off on that. Number 7, Mr. Chicatel noted that he's been receiving a lot of calls pertaining to facilities charging for extra meals that they are delivering to the resident's room. They're also charging if residents is COVID-19 positive, having to add aides to sit with your loved ones due to aggression and wandering, residents falling, charging for PPE gear. He stated, do not, I repeat, do not pay the bill. Deduct the charges from your monthly bill. Remember, they cannot evict the resident and charge the family to pay these fees if the facility is understaffed. These additional charges must be on your agreement, and they have to file a complaint with the court, which would take about 60 days. He also suggested contact Canner. Visitation. If your facility claims they are short-staffed, understand that it's not your problem. Report them to the organization that oversees their facility. For example, different facilities have different oversight. My mother was in a residential care facility, and the jurisdiction over those residential care facilities was the licensing community for Southern California. I'm trying to think. There's also, I believe, the Department of Social Services. They also oversee facilities, but I didn't catch what type of facility. So know the organization that oversees your type of facility that your loved one is in. Last one, they discussed the term compassionate care, and that and that's reported if your loved one in a resident is suffering medically, they should allow visitation. He also recommended getting a prescription from your doctor stating medically necessary. Again, he suggested contact Canner for any help the family may need. That's it, Bets.
Well, thank you very much, Sue. Sure appreciate it. I know the listeners do. And, folks, this is why you need to subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, because you will hear Sue Fernandez. Sue Fernandez is a wonderful, excellent resource. And thank you. So someone had messaged me about a resource, Psychology Today, to check. I guess you can, the viewers, the listeners can.
Magazine.
Yeah, I know.
Magazine.
Yeah, maybe you can, someone can, if you want, Google that. And because she said they listed resources. So maybe they have a department where they have resources. If you Google their name, Betsy, it'll come up, I'm sure.
Excuse me. But I do recall seeing their magazine in a doctor's office.
Yes, I have seen their magazine. And you're right, Sue. With Matt's employer, I did receive 8 free mental health visits. Now, it could be different with your situation. It could be different with the company. I have also, many years ago, went to a place that was on a sliding scale fee. And I also want to say,
even doctors will take, some doctors will even take a sliding scale fee. So don't let that, prohibit you from asking your own doctors.
Right. And they might work, with a person's ability to be able to pay. Also, your local senior center. I get free counseling at my senior center. Now it's over the phone. And your senior centers, well, they did. Maybe they'll do it if this pandemic calms down. Held seminars, free seminars. Now, I don't know if they'll do it now with what's going on, but I went to 2 very good seminars in the beginning of this year.
I know you've even seen it on national news that a lot of people are needing counseling, whether it's the pandemic or the isolation. So please, listeners, if you need help just venting, call someone. I would say 90% are offering free counseling. Don't be afraid or intimidated to ask for help. I see that on Facebook all the time. They're seeking some type of information or whatever. Don't be ashamed to reach out for help. One thing in addition, Betsy, and I didn't mention it, I forgot. I belong to a health insurance plan called Brand New Day, and I truly like the fact that they're doing a lot of reaching out to the elderly. And I laugh because I don't consider myself elderly, even though I am. Anyways, but they are reaching out to me at least every 2 weeks to get involved into their different webinars for education information. I know they offer free counseling. So your listeners may also want to check out their health plan. Again, a lot of these organizations, nonprofit or not, they're offering free mental health counseling. So please, I urge you to contact an organization and get some counseling.
Yes, there is no shame. There should be no embarrassment. And Sue, I've been hearing here in my area public service announcements about mental health and going for help. They give a 800 number. I'm so glad to hear that people are recognizing mental health issues. I find it unfortunate that it took a pandemic to realize that isolation can cause depression and suicide. As you know, Sue, caregivers have been facing social isolation and the stress that goes with that and the depression that goes with that, and some caregivers commit suicide.
Right.
And now the world is waking up to the seriousness of social isolation. And I also want to say that people with dementia who are in facilities that have not had a visit from their loved one are progressing because I believe, this is my own opinion, they are not having that human contact that is so important. FaceTime, sure, that's great, but when you have someone who's in the end stages of any dementia, they can't do FaceTime. I know Matt would not have been able to do FaceTime. They need that human contact, and that's where that compassionate care visit helps. Would help you get in to see your loved one. Yes, it's very important. They're opening up. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Betsy.
They're opening up in New Jersey with restrictions visitation.
Great.
But you have to find out with your individual facility what they require.
What the rules are. Every facility have different rules, believe it or not. I don't care if they have the same name. That's why it's just so frustrating for the family members to visit, because you can talk with one person in one facility and they have different rules. And again, the point is, with Kenner, with you, with you have to continue to question them. Do your research. Know what the facilities offer. Read your agreements. I think I mentioned to you, a Facebook member of ours contacted me. And immediately, I want to say it was in the beginning of the pandemic. And she was freaking out because they were charging her fees to have an aide there 24 hours a day. And it was like $22 an hour. And so they contacted the director, had a lengthy conversation, and they ended up reimbursing her for it. But again, you have to know your rights, and you have to fight for them. The facilities or the administrators are not going to give you the answers. They didn't with me when I tried to visit my mom. They totally lied. And again, what I ended up doing, I did my research, and I found out that it was the Community Licensing Board that oversaw the residential care facility that my mom was in. And sure enough, they were telling me different. So the representative from Community Licensing went over there, spoke to my sister, and spoke to the licensing agent and told them, you cannot do that. And they corrected it immediately. But again, the facility didn't help me. They're not going to help you. Even though they know the laws. They know the rules, Betsy. But they like to play politics and choose their favorites and all this other stuff. But again, it's very important to do your research.
Yes, and this, folks, is why I love Sue Fernandez, because we're on the same page. And Sue, you are so awesome.
Thank you, Betsy.
I will continue to sing your praises. It's so important, folks. You have to do your own research. You don't have to be an advocate like Sue or I. Be an advocate for your loved one and yourself, because you can't turn a blind eye on an injustice, because it will keep going on and on. Do it for your loved one and yourself. And you know what, Sue? I get really mad because why does everything have to be a battle? Why does visiting your loved one have to be a battle? Getting proper care for your loved one is a battle, and when it shouldn't be.
Right.
It shouldn't be at all. My dad had.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My dad was in a facility, and my mom didn't have to pay extra.
Right.
They had a one-to-one with my father.
Right. And it just goes to show you, every facility is different. Every facility is different. And, I went, when my dad was hospitalized, they had sent me over to see this rehabilitation facility. The doctor says, oh, it's great. It's the best in California, blah, blah. It was okay. But, they were trying to sell me everything, and including the book. They even brought up the fact that they allow, if their loved one has a pet, They'll allow the pet to come in, and they can have visitation in the lobby there because it was an open outside lobby and blah, blah, blah. But the interesting thing is we didn't know. We were so naive. I mean, we knew nothing about rehabilitations. Unfortunately, that's where my dad ended up picking up an infection. They were so good, right? But the key is you have to do your research on these facilities. You know, don't go frequently. If you're placing your loved one, don't go, once. Go twice at different facilities. Talk to some of the residents. If you can, talk to some of the employees in the parking lot. It's very important to do your research. Absolutely
true. This is why we continuously say, Sue, education, knowledge is power.
Exactly.
It just is. Knowledge is very important to know what you're talking about when you do go to place a complaint or to ask questions or to confront an issue. You have to know what you're talking about. Be polite and be firm.
Exactly. Stand your ground.
I say. Yes. What was that saying President Roosevelt used to say? Talk softly but carry a big stick. I think that's it.
Exactly. Right. That's right. It's true. I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Also, Sue, the how do you pronounce the word? Ombudsman? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Ombudsman. Ombudsman.
Thank you.
Sure.
It might vary in each state when they're going to go visit. If they're going to go visit, check. So you could do it by Google or check your. And now I'm dating myself here. Yellow Pages, but I still do get the phone book. Mm-hmm. And check with your individual state, and call.
Right.
Because it's important. If everyone who's having the same problem would call up about it, mm-hmm. it would get fixed a lot faster, or there would be a solution to a problem much quicker than if just one person calls. And this is why we encourage people to call. Also in New Jersey, Sue, I know you had mentioned it, and I did read about it in the paper. For instance, my son, who has special needs, if he went to the emergency room, and they don't allow you back there, but I would be allowed back there under the New Jersey law because my son has a special needs.
Okay.
And this is what you have to, research. If you have an adult child
you have to
or a child, yes, you have to, tell the emergency room that you know about this law and that you will file a complaint if you are not allowed to see your loved one who has a special need. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about this all the time. Power of attorney, medical, financial. It's necessary, folks. You need that to even talk to somebody about your loved one in a nursing home.
Exactly.
Because they're not going to tell you a thing. They won't tell you anything.
And then they're going to want you to either fax or mail or even walk into the organization to provide that power of attorney. Some won't allow a copy because that could be forged. So be prepared.
Good point.
The number 1 and number 2 documents before you do anything as a caregiver. Get that power of attorney for health and finances. And again, you don't have to go to an attorney. I know they know best, but I mentioned before, I did it by myself. I did a power of attorney for health and finances, and I had no problems. That was several years ago. I'm sure things are different. But why do you think they sell them at your local Office Depot? They have to be good to some extent. So go into your Office Depot and buy a couple in case you make an error. fill them out, have them notarized, then contact, the doctors or, the banks and tell them, listen, you have power of attorney. Again, some banks don't accept certain powers of attorney. They have their own power of attorney with the banks, so you may have to fill out theirs. But do it. You don't have to go to attorneys. They're best. They are the best if you have the money, but I think not a lot of us have that money.
Right. Or if you have, like in my case, you need a special needs trust.
Exactly.
You may want to, consult an attorney, because I know I certainly wouldn't know, the rules and regulations.
That's a good example, Betsy.
Yeah.
That's a very good
it's very important. Yes, because if your loved one is on Medicaid, you want to have a special trust fund so they don't get they don't get screwed out of their benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important. You don't want your loved one to be screwed out of their benefits of what they should get just because, they might have a little bit of money from an inheritance. You want that money used to take care of that person and make sure. Right. Very good, Sue. Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, thank you for this podcast. And again, we thank Lillian with Passionate World Talk Radio, as well as her partner in crime. And I apologize, I forgot her name. Lillian Jeanne. I'm sorry, Jeanne. Lillian and Jeanne. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sue. Thank you very much. And if people want to get a hold of you, Sue, they can contact me through my Facebook page or Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement, or my email, which is Sloan, SLOAN, Betsy, BETSY 31 @gmail.com. I welcome any suggestions and topics to talk about on Chatting with Betsy, and I really encourage everyone to subscribe so you don't miss any shows on Speaker, Spotify, Google, iHeart, CastBox, to name just a few. You could even use Amazon Alexa. And I want to thank you again, Sue, and thank you again, Jeannie and Lillian, for an opportunity to come on and to share our resources and talk about what is going on in nursing homes and in other situations. Folks, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind, especially now. It's very important. We all need that human contact. Please reach out for help. There is no shame in reaching out for help. We all need help at some point, and I recommend counseling for everybody. I've gone for counseling. I'm still getting counseling. I am not ashamed. If you need an antidepressant, you need an anti-anxiety, it's okay. At some point in our lives, we might need medication to help us. It's fine. It's all right. Do not be embarrassed. Do what you have to do to survive. And it is tough out there, folks. Life can be really hard at times, and we all need help. And, folks, I want to say this. Don't judge somebody because they go for help, because you don't know what's going to happen to you. So don't throw stones at anybody. And that's what I have to say today, folks. So until we chat again, have a great day. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy and Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye.